Ben Goldacre, Bad Pharma, How Drug Companies Mislead Doctors and Harm Patients. Dive into the murky world of the pharmaceutical industry with Bad Pharma, How Drug Companies Mislead Doctors and Harm Patients by Ben Goldacre. This book's summary offers readers hard-hitting insights into biased drug trials, publication bias, and industry-funded studies. Discover how the commercialization of research trials raises ethical dilemmas and hampers medical advancements. Learn about the restless pharmaceutical industry, its ineffective regulation mechanisms, and the dangerous consequences for patients. Arm yourself with knowledge about the misleading marketing strategies used to push ineffective drugs onto the market.
Unmasking industry-funded trials. Medical trials offer valuable insights into the effectiveness of drugs, but they can be easily skewed by the interests of pharmaceutical companies. A striking 85% of industry-funded trials turn out favorable results, in contrast to just 50% of government-funded ones. Behind this bias, hidden methodological flaws often exaggerate a drug's performance while disregarding its negative side effects. For instance, Pfizer's deceptive last observation technique inflated the drug pregabalin's pain improvement by around 25% when analyzed correctly. It's crucial to scrutinize medical trial funding and methodologies to discern the genuine merits of a drug. Unmasking publication bias. Industry-funded medical trials often report positive results while conveniently concealing any negative trial data, a phenomenon known as publication bias. For example, an investigation in 2010 unveiled that out of 7 trials for Pfizer's antidepressant, reboxetine, only 1 presented positive results, and it was this single trial that was published in an academic journal. The other 6 trials, consisting of a larger sample size, showed no significant difference between the drug and a placebo. However, they were never publicized. This selective publishing distorts medical evidence and can have serious implications, ultimately putting people's lives at risk, compromising the objectives of research in medicine, to save lives, cure illnesses, and alleviate suffering. Commercialization's ethical dilemma. Scientific research, particularly in the medical field, may appear objective and unbiased, but the growing influence of commercial interests is causing concern. Clinical research organizations, CROs, now regularly carry out testing for pharmaceutical firms, often in economically disadvantaged regions where costs are lower. This not only violates the ethical principles embedded in the Declaration of Helsinki, which requires trial participants to potentially benefit from the results, but also raises concerns about the credibility of data obtained from such trials. Factors such as variable lifestyles, medical access, and underlying characteristics can skew test results, rendering them inapplicable to Western populations. Consequently, an apparent positive outcome in a developing country might not be replicable elsewhere. To maintain trust in scientific data, ethical considerations must take precedence over economic ones. The flawed drug approval process. The path from pharmaceutical labs to store shelves is marred by problematic regulatory hurdles. Regulators are responsible for monitoring drug safety, but they often receive low pay, leading them to seek higher-paying positions in the private sector. This revolving door encourages conflicts of interest and compromises the regulatory process. The standards set by regulatory bodies result in drugs being approved on barely passable evidence that they are better than existing treatments or alternatives. The system necessitates a critical assessment to ensure the safety and efficacy of medications entering the market. Pharmaceutical companies face a rigorous process before their medications can reach consumers. The journey begins with regulators who hold the crucial responsibility of ensuring the safety of new drugs. Unfortunately, this critical process is marred by several issues, threatening the overall integrity of the regulatory system. Low pay is a significant problem for government regulators. With vast insider knowledge, these individuals are coveted by pharmaceutical firms for their expertise. Consequently, regulators often become tempted to transition from public regulatory bodies to higher-paying private sector positions. This revolving door between government and the pharmaceutical industry can induce conflicts of interest. Imagine regulators, as they scrutinize new drugs, keeping an eye on future job prospects at drug companies. Their inclination to help a company overcome regulatory obstacles paints a troubling picture of potential favoritism, casting doubt on the efficacy of the regulatory process. Compounding this problem is the subpar standards regulators set for drug approvals. The bar is set so low that pharmaceutical companies only need to demonstrate that their drug is better than nothing, a far cry from being considered more effective than existing treatments. Patients and doctors want to know if the newly released drugs are superior to current options, but disappointingly, the answer is often no. For instance, only 70% of the 197 new drugs approved by the American Federal Drug Administration between 2000 and 2010 presented evidence of superiority over other treatments. The situation is no better in the European Union, where nearly half the drugs approved between 1995 and 2005 were studied in comparison with other available treatments upon entering the market. This flawed process demands a closer examination to safeguard public health and bolster confidence in the medications that reach store shelves. Flawed medical trials. Medical trials are often marred by imperfections, including unrepresentative patients, lack of authentic data, and flawed methodologies. Some trials may even involve fraudulent behavior, such as Dr. Scott Rubin's fabricated data on pain research. Pharmaceutical research routinely tests drugs on idealized patients, who are young and have a simple, singular diagnosis. These ideal patients do not represent real-world patients with multiple health issues and complex medication regimens. Trial results may be skewed further when drugs are tested against ineffective or inappropriately administered competitors. This causes new treatments to appear more promising and reliable than they truly are. To improve medical research, more realistic and representative trial models should be adopted to create more accurate and generalizable results. Unraveling Pharma's marketing strategies. Choosing the right medication is no easy task for doctors who lean on pharmaceutical companies for information. Companies invest billions in targeting medical professionals, convincing them of their drug's superiority. Strategies include employing attractive sales representatives and marketing directly to doctors, offering incentives and affiliations. A large portion of pharma advertisements feature misleading claims, with fewer than half referencing high-quality clinical trials. Additionally, pharmaceutical companies sponsor patient groups and pay celebrities to mention their drugs, all aiming to sway the public's opinion despite restrictions on direct marketing to patients. This powerful mechanism generates billions in revenue, prompting scrutiny into advertising and testing standards within the pharmaceutical industry. Pharmaceutical companies face a unique challenge, promoting their medications effectively among various options presented to doctors. To ensure their product stands out, these companies spend a staggering amount on marketing, even outpacing research and development investments. A common strategy is to engage doctors directly through sales representatives, who demonstrate the benefits and capabilities of their respective drugs. Talented and often visually appealing, these reps build strong relationships with physicians, creating lasting impressions. The pharma industry also relies heavily on ads in academic journals, where they can showcase their products to a captive audience. However, these ads often lack unbiased, definitive information. Studies have found that less than half of such ads cite the evidence of high-quality trials. No less important are patient advocacy groups, who receive substantial funding from the pharmaceutical industry. Empowered with resources and knowledge, these groups can promote a positive brand identity, circumventing restrictions that prevent direct advertising to patients. Lastly, companies pay celebrities to name-drop products in interviews, making drugs seem appealing and familiar. This method adds an element of trust and credibility to the company's medications. Pharmaceutical companies invest billions in these intricate marketing mechanisms. Critically evaluating the advertisements and testing for these drugs can strengthen the decision-making process and lead to positive changes in the industry. Revolutionizing routine clinical trials. The pharmaceutical industry's lack of effective trials leads to inadequate knowledge about the best treatments for important diseases. One solution is to integrate randomized trials into regular medical practice. For instance, when prescribing statins for lowering cholesterol, a doctor's software could incorporate an extra page prompting them to randomize the selected drug for the patient. This system could significantly contribute to a valuable, anonymized database of health records and determine which medications are truly the most effective. Simple trials in electronic health records can address major clinical trial issues. They eliminate the problem of unrepresentative, ideal patients, reduce trial costs by using existing medical resources, and allow for continuous analysis of drug efficacy instead of relying on brief, limited trials. By embedding randomized trials into everyday medical practice, the medical community can revolutionize the way drugs are tested and improve patients' outcomes.
By reading this book summary, you are now more aware of the contentious happenings within the pharmaceutical industry. Biased trials and skewed data create the illusion of effectiveness, while questionable research practices erode ethical standards. Regulatory bodies are hindered by poor funding and internal conflicts of interest, leading to several issues in approving and monitoring drugs. The substantial marketing efforts employed by the pharmaceutical industry further muddy the waters and impact both doctors and patients alike. Armed with these unsettling revelations, you can better question the source of the information and be a vigilant advocate for the improvement of the world's pharmaceutical practices.